Greetings, upstanders. Dr. O here. And so I'm listening to Morning Joe, and he has John Della Volpe on, who is at Harvard University and is a pollster. And he put out a poll about college students and their feelings about the future and so on and so forth, their belief in Democrats versus Republicans and so on and so forth. And the conversation led into Joe talking about him being happy or him seeing that a lot of what he called, wokeness is dying on college campuses. And he goes into how, his kids and Mika's kids and their friends feel like they can't say certain things in class because if they do, they'll be canceled, and so they just stay quiet. And people feel like they're just being targeted. If they say certain things, they're going to be banned, and all of this other type of stuff. Because of their views that may be about being conservative or pro-Israel, and so on and so forth. And he's glad that they feel like that's starting to go away, and that's a good thing because people need to be able to speak up in class and so on and so forth. And I found that very interesting. Number one, as you all know, in my book Trigger Words, I have a whole chapter on woke and how a lot of people use the term and don't define it. And it's clear that this is a term that Joe Scarborough doesn't really have a full comprehension of, because when you hear Joe Scarborough, just like he did today, talking about the student from Babson College who got deported and how rude and disrespectful and how cowardly it was for the Trump administration to do that. That was Joe saying that this morning. That will be what some people call woke. It would be standing up for human rights and standing up for people who are here legally. Some people would call that woke, Joe. So you showed a little bit of wokeness today. But here's the flip side of what he's saying. I want to get to the other side. I am on more college campuses regularly than Joe and many of the people who are on these panels. I can guarantee you that, of course, there are actual college professors there. The Eddie Glauds and all those people. I'm not talking about them, but some of these, the commentators and journalists. And one of the things they failed to mention is that, particularly in this climate, people who are considered to be liberal or considered to be woke, quote unquote, gosh, I can't stand that term. Many of them are scared to share their opinions now as well. Because it's one thing, Joe, to have somebody be quote unquote canceled or have people go at them in social media because they may have taken a pro Netanyahu stance, but it's another thing to be arrested by this administration for putting out an op-ed in a student newspaper, like what happened to the Tufts University student. It's another thing to be like completely doxxed and have billionaires, and partnering with the Trump administration to dox people who are putting out, free Palestine, information and commentaries and the like. I am running into students regularly. And I'll be very honest, I am running into people who are on the liberal side of things, and I'm running into dealing with students who are on the conservative side of things, who are both afraid to post their ideas, their content, their resumes, and so on and so forth. But one is going to lead towards actual targeting by this government, by Trump, by Stephen Miller, possibly by ICE, depending on status. And that's a whole different level of concern that Joe and Della Volpe in this segment did not talk about. Do we need to be able to have more of what Glenn Singleton calls courageous conversations on our college campuses? Absolutely. Do we need to do more to make sure that different ideas are welcome? Absolutely. But this idea that it's only people who are conservative that are fearful of expressing their opinions because of fear of facing backlash and so on and so forth. It's absolutely not the same in terms of scale. Yes, people may experience some backlash online, and I'm not for that. I feel like people's ideas should be challenged, of course, and you agree with that, Joe. Those ideas should be challenged, of course. People shouldn't be targeted, set up for vitriol and all that other type of stuff. Now, if they're saying things like, Palestinian children deserve to be shot in the head, that's something that people need to come at with hard rebuke. And there should be no problem with that if people believe in common humanity. But I do agree with you that there needs to be an ability to have general conversations based in humanity. Those things need to happen, and all colleges could do better as it relates to that. But if we're going to be honest, it's more people in this administration now who are on the liberal side of things who are being targeted by the government for their views, and they are shutting down what they are saying. They are scraping things from their profiles. They are updating their resumes on LinkedIn to get rid of anything that reflects anything relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because this government is coming after them or looking to get them fired or make sure that they don't get hired in the first place. And so the scales have absolutely tipped. And if that's why you see a decline in this thing you call, wokeness, that might be a reason. And so we need to be mindful of that. You later had the president of Dartmouth University on, who was talking about what she's doing to build great conversations and dialogue, and that's where we need to be going. So I'm glad that you did that. That's the model we need to be following. And many universities lean too much in one direction or the other. And so there needs to be a well-rounded, holistic conversation. But this idea that, wokeness is dying, and that's a good thing because, kids I know, my kids, Mika's kids, their friends, they're afraid to speak up. No, we can talk about what schools can do more to be more welcoming to diverse opinions, but it's not even equal in terms of the level of vitriol and the level of actual physical danger and violence that people who are on the liberal sides of things might face. We saw that Oklahoma State University transfer professor who was suspended because a student complained about getting a 0 on a paper that they turned in, and she gets suspended while the investigation takes place. Like, these are the things that are happening. The professors are being targeted. I know friends of mine and their colleagues who are being whose addresses have been put out by Turning Point USA, and have people showing up at their dorms or showing up at their offices and all of it. Those are real things that are happening right now. So y'all need to spend some time talking about that and condemning that, because whether you want to believe it or not, like I said, I live and work and speak and perform in this college space. This is a climate that, because of this administration, is actually worse for people who are on the liberal side of things to express their views because of the crackdowns that they're facing. And I believe that anybody who expresses any type of view based in inhumanity needs to be challenged and needs to be challenged vigorously. But I don't believe anybody needs to experience what this student in Honduras right now from Babson is dealing with, or what Muslim students on campus or anybody who protests to free Palestine, what they're experiencing in terms of being deported, being put in cells, being arrested if they're American citizens and the like. And I'm not talking about people who are threatening violence against Jewish students, because that's unacceptable. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people expressing their opinions as well about Palestine should be able to be free and Gaza should be able to be free and not occupied. They're experiencing harder consequences than people on the conservative side. And that needs to be a deeper conversation that you need to have on your show, Joe. What do y'all think? Let me know. Peace.